Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Hayley.
After meeting online, we became international best friends who bonded over how hard it is to find success in the entertainment industry.
Join us and our celebrity co-authors as they help us write the book on how to make it.
And, more importantly, uncover what making it even means.
Hi, I'm Kate Flannery, and I wanted to be a child star when I grew up. It's actually really true. I guess I didn't really want to grow up then.
No, yeah, please elaborate. Is there a particular child star you were following?
You name it, I was following them at the time. In the 70s, in the late 70s, I became obsessed with the actress that played the original Annie on Broadway, because that was like the first. That was the first time I realized, like, she was actually from Philadelphia, my hometown, and it's the first time I realized that there was a system that you don't just, get plucked out of a crowd, that kind of a thing. You really have to have a craft. You have to be able to audition. I heard that she and some of the other actors from the other girls that were in the show who were orphans. There were a couple of them in Philadelphia, and they were studying with a couple of vocal coaches. So I was like saving up to go to the coaches. I wanted to, because I had piano and I had tap. My mom's like, if you want singing, you got to get a job, because that's it. Your sister only has swimming. That's it. So I got a job at a Chinese restaurant that my sister worked in. So I worked there one night a week, and I paid for my voice lessons.
Wow.
Oh, do you still have voice lessons? Do you still pursue that?
I do. Well,
cool.
I sort of only sang with a wig on for a long time, because I had a comedy lounge act that I did for 20 years called the Lampshades.
Yeah.
We did in a lot of clubs and comedy festivals and such. And we were there was a version of us with Selena Gomez on Wizards of Waverly Place, because we played Harper's best friend. We knew the show.
I remember that.
Yeah. We were the Finkles, but we were really the Lampshades. They had our same costumes, but like in different colors. They took away the cleavage and the camel toe. They cleaned it up. They cleaned up our act. Yeah.
Sadly.
And then I've been singing with Jane Lynch for the last almost 10 years. I guess it's been 9 years now. And we did a Christmas album 7 years ago. And that forces me to, I really have to have my act together, because we sing with the Tony Guerrero Quintet, and it has to be a certain level. And so, it's like, here it is, it's on vinyl too, and obviously on iTunes. But yeah, so we do like pretty legitimate venues. And so we are now contractually obligated to spend every December together in front of an audience, the Tony Guerrero Quintet. And Tim
the
Davis,
new Mariah Carey.
If Mariah Carey was two people, yes. Actually, yes. Or three people. And five. Actually, there's 8 of us all together on stage. So yeah. But yeah, it's just been a great labor of love. And I studied voice in college for a couple years. And it's just nice to realize that my dad didn't waste his money on my lessons for nothing. Yeah. And I actually was not allowed. I wasn't really allowed to sing on The Office. Like, they literally sat me down and said, if Meredith sings, she doesn't sing. Meredith doesn't sing. So even though Kate sings, Meredith doesn't sing. So that was which I totally get. I mean, it's supposed to be a documentary. We're in Scranton. Not everybody should be able to sing in a paper company. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That would have been a really interesting twist, though. I think with voice stuff, people don't realize it's a lifelong craft. I think sometimes people think when you sing, then you sing. Because I'm working on a TV musical at the moment, and like the amount of work the voice coaches are doing in that is crazy, and they're all singers.
Right. Well, it is really like move it or lose it. You have to keep certain muscles. You don't just push through. There's so many subtleties, and it's an instrument. It's an instrument. That's the hard, and it's not always reliable. You got to really take care of it. So when we're on tour, when I tour with Jane Lynch, we cannot party. It is so boring. I mean, it's great, but it's like you cannot, you got to watch it.
Yeah. You got to look after yourself.
Yeah.
Well, Kate, we usually go into two facts that we find out about our guests via the internet. And this one I already knew, because I thoroughly enjoy this show, but you were on Is It Cake?
Yes, I was.
What
It
was that?
fun.
I just need to know everything.
Well, of course, Is It Cake is a show where there's a panel of guests who decide if what they're looking at is actually an object, the object it's the shape of, or if it's actually cake. And I guess there was like 3 examples for every object. And wow, it is not easy because these people are amazing artists. And I feel like as a judge, I liked it even more when it tasted really good. So I always,
Yeah.
so I actually prefer the bakers who it looked amazing, and I would actually eat the whole piece. Because, let's face it. I mean, is it cake? Like it can, there's good cake and really bad cake.
Is it?
Right. So some of it was completely delicious and amazing. And I applaud those baking artists because that's what they are. It was really fun.
Amazing.
I have no idea how they do that.
Me either. And there aren't enough hours in the day. I mean, it's like, wow.
I know.
Wow, it's
like
wild.
the time you must have to put in to just develop even 10% of that craft is bonkers.
Yeah, it really is. And Mikey Day is the host, and he's from SNL, and I feel like we all got very serious because we wanted to take like it's an art, and you don't want to mess it up, even though sometimes I got it wrong, sometimes I got it right. I don't know. What can I tell you? I don't even know if I might be cake. Is it cake? Is she cake?
Who knows? Is she cake? My daughter squeed. She did a little squee when I was coming to meet you because she knows you from Is It Cake? she absolutely. She's only 10, and she's obsessed with Is It Cake.
Amazing.
Loves it.
Yeah,
loves
the coffee pot was so confusing. I was so confused. The coffee pot was probably the most difficult for me. I was like, how can this be? I wanted to like knock on it. I'm like, this has got to be some sort of an inside joke for the judges. This cannot be cake. Nothing. All the examples were too good.
There was a, I don't know if you call it a meme. I don't know anymore, but there was something that I saw on the internet, and it was like, the year is 2050. I can't tell what's cake and what isn't. I go to hug my wife for comfort. She is cake.
Right. I think when I was like a freshman in college, it was cake. Yeah. Like my crushes were cake.
Okay.
Freshman 15. I'm just saying we can put on some weight.
That's true.
A little homesick.
Dear. Oh. My slightly surprising fact off the internet is something that I didn't know. In the last episode of The Office, the US office, have to make the distinction. So you are dancing with your real life partner, Chris, at Dwight and Angela's wedding.
I am, yes. Chris, I actually met him on The Office. We are the real Jim and Pam because we met on The Office season 1. We didn't start dating until the end of season 2. And he's actually in a couple different episodes, but he's in the finale as the photographer in the scene where they reveal Pam's mural. He's like, a few more. And then we sort of sneak out. Everyone, all the Dunder Mifflin crowd sneaks out to leave, like toward the end. And then they have during the credits, they're showing Michael Scott and Dwight dancing at Dwight and Angela's wedding. And they literally had him be my dance partner at the wedding, which is really great, I think. It's very sweet.
So lovely.
It was really awesome. And I have to say, like, we kind of got to know each other on set, and he came to my comedy show, and that's when he asked me out when I was doing the lampshades on a Saturday night. But he was always in the fake men's room off the kitchen. If you know the show, there's a men's room and a ladies' room right off the kitchen. So he could hear everything. So I always knew where to find him. And you literally had to cut through the fake bathrooms to get to the real bathrooms. So it was. So I had an excuse to go in. It wasn't like I was like, "Hey, what's up?" I was like, "I'm just going to the bathroom. No big deal. What's up? Hey, all right. I don't like you unless you like me first."
Who made the first move, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I invited him to my comedy show, so he thinks that was the move. But he asked me for a drink afterward. The funny thing is, he was seeing me at my 8:00 show, and he was seeing another woman at 11, which he told me he was going to see. He was like, so I think my show was funnier. So
must have been.
But he asked me out right before the other show, and he was with a friend, and we went to get a drink, and I think we had like, sweet potato fries or something. And the minute his friend got up to go to the bathroom, he's like, "You and I should be dating." That's what he said to me. And I was like,
Oh,
"What?"
wow.
Yeah. And, he meant it. Like, he really meant it. So he gets points for that, because that's a ballsy move. Yeah.
I love that.
That is super
And thank God it worked
ballsy.
out, because it was 9 seasons. If it didn't, it
Oh,
would have been sort of like,
God.
"Hey, what's up? Hey, I gotta go."
Oh, no.
I don't have to go to the bathroom. I'm good. I'll go the long way. Yeah.
I know. It was very wise to do the first season and just kind of see how that panned out. Very wise.
Yeah, because you never know. Yeah.
You never know.
It can be tricky. Yeah. What's the expression? Can I curse on this?
Oh,
can I curse?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say you should never shit where you eat. So, ironically,
Yes.
he was in the bathroom. I can't even. It's all so literal and non-literal. Sorry.
He was literally
But you know what I
in the
mean?
bathroom.
Yeah. Literally.
No.
Like,
We had a guest who literally had a whole analogy about the career ladder in TV being like, what's it called, Emily?
The human centipede.
The human centipede.
Do you know this, Kate?
I don't.
Oh, God, I don't know if we should go there. But basically, the people at the top are shitting in the mouth of the next person, of the next person,
right.
of the next person. So your
Gotcha.
curse is nothing compared to that elaborate story.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's an image that's really hard to get out of your brain. But we'll manage to change the subject at some point.
Yeah, Emily's just crying now that I brought that up again. I'm so sorry. I'm going to move on to the fan question. We put out a little call for your fans to ask a little question, and Sean has sent one in. So he says, were you hesitant to go from improv acting to scripted acting? When you were doing Second City, The Lampshades, and all your improv work, when you would sit down at the end of the day and think about where you wanted your career to end up, what was that daydream? That's 2 questions.
Well, the first part of that question is that even though I was doing a lot of improv, even at Second City, we scripted things. Like, we would write things on our feet, and then they would be set, and then you would do those scenes, and then you get to improvise a little bit within the scene sometimes, and then we would always have an improv set at the end of the show. So I feel like I've always done scripted stuff. I mean, it's always been in the mix. And even the Lampshades, my comedy act had a structure. I mean, we'd go off the rails a lot, but and be in kind of real time, trapped in an act, these 2 people. But yeah, so I'm very wired for scripted. My biggest challenge on The Office was, coming from a broader stage experience and then having to really bring it down for the camera, even though, doing a character, there's such a, as weird as Meredith is, there are some real subtleties in that character. And I was very grateful that the producers and directors that I worked with really gave me the right notes in the moment and said, just like, can you just do a little bit less? And I sort of figured out the science of what they were really looking for. So it was a great lesson. It was a great education. And, many times you get written out if you don't know what you're, if you don't get it right away, they're not, so they were really awesome and patient as far as that went. And, I mean, I just think, if someone gives you good advice, take it. Because I think a lot of times people who are on a show suddenly think that they have all the answers, or, I mean, it's just, it's tricky. It's tricky sometimes. And I'm also an ensemble person. So I loved being part of a show that I could be just physical. Like sometimes my lines would get cut because I basically, like, I would get a laugh from just like the way I looked at somebody, or, I my face expressed what the line was anyway. And then sometimes I literally just I got to do a lot of my own stunts, because I thought that was so much funnier to me than when you think, oh, that could be somebody else. But when it's that actor, it's just, we're doing a documentary. It should be me. So much of what I got to do on The Office was physical. So even if I saw that my line got cut, my face sort of did what it needed to do. Like, I already expressed it. So I never really worried too much about my lines getting cut, because I feel like I still got the laugh. And then because of that, I got to do a lot of my own stunts, because I think it's much funnier when you're doing a documentary and people get to actually see that it's the real actor. It's a real person.
So many stunts.
It's fun. I mean, we still had stunt people on the show, don't get me wrong, but I always gave it a shot, and most of them, it was, a lot of it was me in the final cut.
That's crazy.
It is.
Especially
Absolutely
the getting
nuts.
hit by a car.
Well,
That
that was
I
a little bit
would've-
of movie magic too. Like I was literally started on top of the car, hit the glass, rolled off onto a giant pad.
Still.
So that was, yeah, but it was fun.
It was such fun.
Still, it was.
Moving to your more recent projects with the film The Prank, we were lucky enough to get to see a screener of it, and I won't give anything away, but all in all, it's a departure from your usual body of work. I'll just say that. So I'm wondering, when you are either approached or read a script of a project, what is it that draws you in and makes you want to be a part of something?
Well, I have to say with The Prank, Maureen Burch is the director, and I had already worked with Maureen on a movie called Golden Arm, and that movie went to South by Southwest, but we couldn't go because of COVID. And then which is so crazy. But then The Prank ended up going to South by Southwest, so that was kind of great. But I think I think that this movie, The Prank, is like a horror comedy hybrid. It's pretty out there. It's a very dark comedy, and I think that I think comedy is so funny when it's in truth. So there's a thin line between this super dark comedy and regular comedy, in my opinion, good comedy. And the fact that Rita Moreno is the star, come on. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And she's such a legend. God, she's a legend. So yeah, I had a great time, and I got to play the Loretta the lunch lady. And, it reminded me of the lunch lady that I had to deal with when I was in high school. And, she's sort of like the bartender. Like if you are a douchebag to the lunch lady, you don't get what the extra fries. You don't get what you just don't get it. And the same thing with the bartender. Like don't be shitty to the bartender because you won't get your drink or you're going to get flagged. You might get your drink, but then that's it. Get out, keep moving. It's an interesting control. It's a powerful position.
Did you get to read the script before you decided to be? Okay. That's good.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. I thought
really
Rita
weird,
was,
but I love it.
Rita was like so scary.
This is the meanest Rita Moreno has ever played. Rita Moreno usually plays like a really likable character. She was so great at being so bad, and she loved it. She's been talking about it. She's been doing so much press about it, like how the joy of being shitty, like,
you could tell, I think you could tell that she was having a good time, and I was scared, and I knew that it was the movie, so.
Yeah, it's funny.
I hope
Sometimes
it doesn't change her.
No. I think sometimes actors are the opposite of what they play.
And she's in her 90s.
Yeah, she's 92, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. So I felt like a youngster, But yeah, this movie is interesting. I love doing indies. And my thing about doing indie films is that you have to really be willing to take out the trash if you're working on an indie film. Like you have to be a team player. And it's a lot of the ensemble vibe that I really relate to. And most of my career has been, the joy of being part of an ensemble and supporting other people in a scene.
People to bounce off.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But just, and to know, like, it, I mean, I understand there's some stars that they require a lot of energy to be who they are all the time. And it's a big responsibility. I feel like sometimes, I can make a mess and someone else has to clean it up. Usually like the number one on the call sheet, they're sort of required to always sort of toe the line and be there. And, I sort of can get in and out in a great way, even if I'm there the whole time. Like I don't have the same sense of responsibility usually. And it's fun. I mean, it's a lot more fun. It's more fun to be me, is what I'm saying, than Rita Moreno. Sorry, Rita.
Bless her. It's doing really well at the festivals as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And actually we
It's
open,
cleaning up.
yes, we've done pretty well. And, we're premiering next week, in theaters. It'll have a brief theatrical run, which is always fun. And, the whole Hollywood premiere, BS, fun, parade, dress up, do the carpet, take
Do
some
you enjoy
bows.
that side?
I do. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get to borrow some nice clothes. It's fun. I'm really lucky,
Yeah.
and I feel like The Office taught me so much because we were nominated for so many awards every year. Sometimes we won. We won the Emmy the first time out in 2006, and then we won 2 years in a row the SAG Awards, Best Ensemble. So, it's really fun, and we were always up for Golden Globes. Steve won the Golden Globe one year, but we never won for the show. But it was an honor just to be nominated. This is true. Especially the ones where, the SAG Awards and the Golden Globes, you get to be with the movie stars. So that's always way more interesting and intense.
Yeah. I bet you've got some good stories from there. Probably ones that you can't tell.
Well, how much time you got?
I'm going to move you on before there's any kind of libel stuff going on. So obviously you've got a insanely varied career, Kate. Like, you've got your finger in a lot of pies here. Do you have a career mentor at all? Like someone who you can count on to give you real advice?
I mean, obviously, I'm friends with Jane Lynch because we get to perform together. We're sort of on different roads, but I think of her as a mentor. I mean, she's done so much. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I look to a few different people. I'm a big fan of Catherine O'Hara's, and and also I kind of look at, I guess the some actors that don't necessarily put themselves in the same lane all the time. I mean, obviously you get what you get. You try what you try. It's not like I'm turning down offers left and right for this and that. But I think but I am open to, as an artist, I'm open to some wild things. Like, I never thought in a million years that I would do Dancing with the Stars. And they set up an interview, and I was like, is this just like, are they just checking off the box? Like, they don't really want me. They're just saying they're going to see somebody, and they probably have somebody else in place, and I'm just a backup. And I was like, oh, they're really interested. And then when I realized what the process was, because I never really knew actually how intense the process was until I was at the interview, and I thought, wow, that is so interesting that you literally have to, learn on the spot, and I was not in great shape when I started at 55. But it was a great experience. And I got to dance with, Pasha Pashkov, it was his first season. He and his wife were 7-time national champs and Blackpool winners, international champs. Like, I had no business dancing with someone of that caliber. I mean, these are great athletes and great teachers. But it was a really interesting process, and I liked it so much more than I thought I would. And I'm so glad I lasted a little bit longer than I thought. I mean, I only missed 2 episodes.
Well.
I'm actually very proud of that.
So
not
well.
too shabby, right? And I got to do the tour. I got to do a lot of the tour. I did 45 of the 54 shows I was supposed to do. There were 80 shows in total, but COVID shut us down early. But that was another show. Doing that tour, I could not party. There was no booze, no nothing. And we're on a bus going to a different city every night. Like, it was trippy. Literally, like, you finish the show, you get on the bus, you drive, you wake up in another town. It's wild. It was wild.
Athletes. Sometimes
it was snowing. Yeah, it was the real deal. I mean, I had the fancy bedroom in the back, but it's not that fancy. Yeah, a little bumpy. But yeah, those guys they work so hard, and they bring so much joy. And those live shows, oh my gosh, on the road. I don't think we did a smaller. I think every audience was at least like 2,500 people, and I did a little comedy monologue at the top of the show, and did a couple dances from the show. Like, it was a lot. And then I got to host at Radio City Music Hall, which is insane. It was sold out, 6,000 people. When you hear your jokes like go through a room, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to take this with me for the rest of my life. I don't even know what to do with this. This is like, holy crap. Yeah, it was pretty remarkable. And, just like finding the fun in what I always say to a lot of artists is like, everybody's trying to get what they want, but do you want what you get? Can you enjoy what is offered you? Like, can you really enjoy what the world is giving you? So I feel like if nothing else, like I feel fortunate enough to have that skill to make the best of something. And if I'm not having a good time, I generally will get out, because, it's just like, there's no use being like a miserable person in a system that you don't believe in, or a project that you're not really right for.
It's so important. Is that something you've developed as you've gone along, or have you always had that in you?
I think I'm more mature than I used to be, and I've learned to manage my disappointments for sure. I think that comes with experience and age. And I think, not worrying about the things that you don't get. I was up for SNL, oh my God, so long ago. And I just, it was a big disappointment not to get it, but it was also a great affirmation to be considered, because they don't consider a lot of people. Yeah. So I, thank God I had a good therapist, but my friend got it. Actually, two of my friends got it that round and I didn't. Oh. And I was like, what do you do with it? Like, you want to be happy for your friends. You don't want to be a dick, you want to be happy for them. And I was, but it was like, but then what do you do with this disappointment? Because they don't really knock on the door twice. And, I think I had resubmitted the next, like maybe 2 years later. I was like, this is not happening.
What year was,
it was just interesting.
Was that happening?
That was back in 1991. It's a long time ago. And I just had to wait 13 short years to get the office. It's a long time in between, but it was worth it. It was worth it. It's good.
The growth in that time period, though.
And the humility and sleeping on couches and doing off Broadway and, oh my gosh, and waiting tables and and, kind of getting a lot of no's and still showing up and saying, okay, I'm still here. If you don't want me, I'll find someone else that does. And I'm not going anywhere, And actually that's what got me to create a comedy act with my comedy partner, Scott Robinson. When we started doing the Lampshades, I was like, nobody's calling and giving me a job. I better get off my ass and create my own thing. So we played tons of clubs, and we played every Saturday night for 5 years in a row. Plus, I mean, that was just our regular gig. And, it was a great gym, like the comedy gym. Cause the best thing about comedy is that if you're not doing well, right away, cause the audience isn't laughing. Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing, to be a dramatic actor and not have that same feedback immediately. Because how do you know? Literally, you have to go, oh, the next night you got to go, oh, I gotta figure out that joke because that didn't work. We got to fix that. We got to fix it. And then you learn how to sort of drive the laughs and, all that kind of stuff. And, you're in different spaces. Sometimes the mic breaks, all that stuff. Like, there's weird people in the audience saying weird things to you. All that stuff. It's all part of the muscle of accepting your limitations, but also making the best out of all the mistakes. Because there really are no mistakes in comedy. I mean, if you're really rolling with it, it's a gift. You try to take everything that goes a little off and treat it like a gift.
Yeah. The theme of making your own work is kind of coming up a lot recently. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's really kind of defined you and has helped you kind of push your
absolutely. Well, if nothing else, it's certainly like it's a jewel in your own crown. Like, I feel like the Lampshades sort of hit a wall because we did mashups of 70s and 80s songs, and we couldn't we couldn't really take it to the next level without proper, music supervision. You have to pay for all those rights. Yeah. And, it gets tricky. We were actually supposed to be on, we were supposed to do a series of appearances on Mad TV, and they lost their budget. So we're like, oh, okay. But, making the best of it in the moment, okay. I'm like, okay, well, when we're just going to have a stage thing, and it's just going to, in comedy clubs, and it's just going to be what it is. And if you kind of get into the acceptance of what is and what isn't, and make your money, make your laughs, enjoy the fans. And, and then if you want more, then you do something different.
It sounds like you had to be pretty flexible as well in those moments and just go, right, that hasn't worked out. What's the next thing? What can we do with this?
Right. Absolutely. And I think, I had so many peers that I've, along the way did shows with, and you can sort of watch what other people do. And, there's a certain stamina that we all share, and a mutual respect. And, it's like, again, there's some mean people out there, and they're not my people. I just feel like life is too short. If you need to knock someone out of the way to get where you're going, then by all means, go right ahead. I'm not interested in that dance. Some people would step over your dying corpse to take your place. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, I just can't. Yeah, I can't. So in that respect, like maybe I would be more famous or more, I don't know, more wealthy, but I'm doing fine. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I'm not complaining. I'm really not. It's all good. I can sleep at night.
Is it cake, man? It's the pinnacle. Like,
is it cake? Yeah.
Hilarious. What else is there? I'd love to do is it cake. And just eat loads of cake.
God, you're hilarious.
I was gonna say, Kate. So we go on to this section called The Story. And it's basically a story from your career that's kind of taught you a lesson of what it was going to take for you to get to where you wanted to go, or like just a what the fuck am I doing story. For example, today I've come straight here from choreographing a threesome in the rain.
Tell her your job first before you say that.
Okay, I'm an intimacy coordinator. Sorry. And it's very cold here. It was 3 degrees, and I've just been choreographing this threesome in the rain in a bush.
3 degrees Celsius.
Right,
yeah,
that's what
Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Sorry.
Right.
And
that's not a threesome. That's a quick death, is what it is.
Yeah, well, it was more of a huddle.
That's a group death.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, and I'm just like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, what is this job? Like, do you have a moment where you were just like,
I've had, hell? I mean, how much time you got? Literally, I've had so many of those.
Loads, go.
I will say, oh my God, I'm trying to think. Like, I just, I think what I can actually talk about.
What are you allowed to say?
Well, I remember when I was doing off-Broadway, I was doing the stage production of the movie Valley of the Dolls. This was in the 90s. And we had a big cult following. And I always say that's like kind of pre-YouTube theater. Because I also did the Real Life Brady Bunch, which was another thing where it was before we had the internet and people would share scenes. So we would act them out exactly like, and that was the comedy. So, but I remember like my world kind of fell apart. I was with a guy I shouldn't have been with. I shared my credit. And that was really bad because he wasn't working enough. And suddenly I was people were like the creditors were knocking on my door, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not making enough money for 2 people. Like, this is nuts. And he would put his half of the rent on my credit card. And, I did that for like 2 years, which is the dumbest thing ever. Don't share credit with anybody unless you got a ring on it or something.
I was like, I think we might have dated the same guy.
Yeah, we've all had the same guy. Sorry, go on.
It's a learning experience for sure, and it's also like a lesson in having real boundaries because, sometimes like people, I felt like negotiated out of all my healthy boundaries. But I remember, the weird thing was that I was doing Valley of the Dolls. We were, it was like a critical success. Like people were coming to the show. It was like it was kind of like the off-Broadway Toast of New York, which is, below 14th Street, I was getting recognized. And then I was, I realized I had to declare bankruptcy, and like everything just went so bad. I was sleeping on couches, and I realized like I was in so much trouble so quickly. And then suddenly the show was ending. But at the same time, I had done an interview for Interview Magazine, and I was on the One to Watch page. And this came out literally the month that everything fell apart.
Wow.
And I just remember like feeling so freaked out, and like I couldn't enjoy it because it was like the contrast of what was happening in my real life as opposed to this One to Watch. I'm like, don't look at me, I don't know what I'm doing. So nuts, because Interview Magazine was a big deal. That was Andy Warhol's magazine, and like not everybody got to be in it, and it was, we had like a photo shoot and the whole bit, and it was like, holy crap. And it's funny because I knew John Favreau from Chicago because we did shows together at the Annoyance Theater. I knew him from Second City too. He was in that same issue that I was for Swingers, his movie Swingers. That's the movie that put him on the map. And I thought, God, this is so ironic that like this, so, and obviously, and then, so it was 8 years later that I got to do The Office, but those 8 years were, pretty humbling. And, I had 5 sets of keys. I knew a lot of people in New York and they let me stay, my sister was one of them, but I couldn't stay every night. It was like, you got to keep moving, and I remember like I read that book, Angela's Ashes, which was a book about a poor Irish child written by Frank McCourt. And I read it in bookstores because I was trying to get out of everybody's hair. So I would write down the page that I ended on, and then I'd go to a different bookstore and read more. And I remember like crying about this, thinking, like feeling sorry for myself, but realizing at least I'm not a child in Ireland whose father drinks the rent. Like I can just keep working. I can get another job and like get out of this mess financially. And I did. I worked really hard. It was not easy. I don't recommend it. But I also think, I realized that no one could save me from these. Like, I had to dig myself out. And I mean, obviously I did have some help because I had places to stay. But it's pretty humbling when, you have a dream, you think you're with the right person and you realize, oh, I'm not with the right person. So I wish him well, far away from me. But yeah, it was definitely a huge learning experience. And again, the contrast of like being in this magazine and like looking at your real life going like, what? Like, I don't care what the outside is if the inside is messed up. Like I want I want everything to feel good because I live in the real world. So,
That's it. And like money is just a massive thing. Is it like if the money isn't there, it like everything in your world can be great, but like it can really screw you up, can't it? And like it'll be really nice for some of our listeners to kind of hear about the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, and there's a book called The Artist Way, and it's a great book.
Yeah,
it's a workshop for artists, but there is one line in it that I found troublesome because I knew people that were suddenly getting into crazy debt. It's the line in the book is, "Do what you love, the money will follow." You have to be able to pay your rent. That is not true. You cannot just. You have to have a balance. It is not a magical thing. Because I knew people like, oh, I only get paid to do. I did a lot of free shows, but I also knew to do the free shows with really good people and things that got attention. Even if I was waiting tables, I was like, this is better than being in a rep company of some show that people have seen a million times. If you're doing something original with really funny people, so that was sort of something I learned from my Chicago days, like working with, now Joey Soloway and Andy Richter and Jane Lynch. Like we all paid our dues, doing things that did not really pay, but that had another currency. And that was something that I learned back then, Yeah.
That's the key. Because I see loads of like young kids just doing random free crap, but you've got to pick it really, really carefully, haven't you? Andy Richter and Jane Lynch were both in the Real Life Brady Bunch, weren't they?
Yes. And and I knew Andy was in, I think, the second improv class I took. Yeah, I know him from way back when. And Jane Lynch was the first person I saw when I went to see Second City. She was in that. She was understudying for somebody. And then I became her understudy like a year and a half later. Life is so crazy.
Nice.
You just never know. Yeah, it's nuts. But again, like I feel very... I feel very lucky. And I think getting The Office at the age of 40 and keeping my restaurant job the first season was very valuable for me because I didn't want to be like, woohoo. I had done that before when I first got Second City. I quit my restaurant job and then I was like, wait, what am I making? What are they paying? So, the reality of things, is, you gotta look at the reality and not feel victim to it. It's an opportunity and things are what you make of them. And if you can find the love and if you can find something more positive than negative out of it, creatively, then do it. If it speaks to you, even if it doesn't pay, do it. Even if it doesn't pay right, do it. And it'll get you to where you need to be. And I do think that acting is a muscle. You cannot, I mean, I literally worked in a restaurant in Beverly Hills where there were people my age who had never taken class or never like really performed. And I was performing all the time. And I literally think that they thought that someone was going to pluck them out of the restaurant. They would wait on someone and just like someone would just make it magical happen. Like, because we had all these big directors like Robert Altman and Wes Anderson and Mel Brooks, like all these people would come in and like, they're not going to give you a job just because you brought them their cappuccino. Like, that's not how it works. And if it does, you are one in a million. that is the lottery. You just won the lottery. Most people, it's not the story. That's not how it goes.
It's like preparation meets opportunity.
Right.
Rather than.
Right. Absolutely. You got to be ready when you get that. Yes. You have to have all the
synergy.
Yes. And the capability, and you have to be in shape. You have to be, you got to be in the gym. And then when you get called, you're ready. Yeah. Whatever your gym is.
I'm a comedy writer, and it's like a lot of that resonated because, I'll send a sample, and if the company, production company is like, we're going to hold on to this, I'm not like, done. I'm like, okay, who else wants to read it? Like, I'm not, it's like this constant, like, I'm not going to hang my hat on you filing my script in the ether. And I'm going to keep writing. And that's tough because I think it took me 9 months to write my first original pilot. And you don't know if anybody is ever going to see this, read it, like it, but you can't not. Like I've had an instance where someone said, do you have a sample? And it was me and one other person, and I had a sample and the other person didn't, and that was the make or break moment. So
right. You were prepared. And it's almost like it's like the universe is watching you at all times. Like, you don't need to have a human being be that person. You just have to just put it out there, and the right person will eventually appear if you keep if you keep having that spirit of producing your own creating something that is yours, that exists. Because if nothing exists, then the chances of getting an opportunity to do someone else's project are they can be very slim.
Yeah.
Even if you're beautiful, even if you're already funny, even if you have great qualities and talents. Yeah. Especially the older you get, you got to get real about, what are you bringing? What are you taking responsibility for? And what is your voice? What do you have to offer?
Yeah. The amount of writers who say that they are writers but don't write anything is insane.
Yes. It is. It is the audacity to call yourself a writer and not. Yeah,
it's wild.
I tend to
you have to be a certain kind of person, don't you?
Yes, and sometimes it works for people. The audacity works for some people. But for most of us, it's like you have to be able to really produce. Yeah, the real thing, and also just like have an understanding of, or just a respect for the work. To be like to have the process to understand the process by doing the process, whatever your process is. Having
the question
a process
then becomes, do you want to be a writer? Like, there's stuff where I'm like, shoot, I have this idea, and if I don't get it out of my head, I'm going to throw up. Like, it's a compulsion. It's not like I need to, like, I want this lifestyle. Who wants this life? Like, it's just like, it's a compulsion. It's like, I have to get this story out. I have to figure out these characters. I need to, like, get this. There's a joke here. It's like I start scratching at myself. I'm like, I need to get it out. So that's why I don't understand why you would say you want to be a writer and try and go down that path and then just not pick up a pencil, if that's how people write.
Right. I know. I was watching like the Truman Capote, the feud about Truman Capote, and he just was drinking and not writing, and everyone's waiting for the writing, and he's drinking and he's not writing, and everyone's waiting for the writing. Mm-hmm. So even people who have written, like you still have to write, especially if you're getting paid for it. And, it's just it's a sad, there's a lot to overcome, the demons in our head are louder than anybody else's voice. And that's what I've learned in general.
Yeah.
You got to take care of yourself. And you also have to keep yourself sacred, keep your ideas sacred, have some sense of, care and caution. And, that's why, like, I don't text back if I have a family member who's kind of nuts and doesn't know that they're negative, but they are, when I'm a little vulnerable or about to go do something that takes a lot of energy. I'm like, nope, we're not talking right now. I'll call you later. Can't do it now. Gotta keep my eye on the prize and keep my energy in this thing.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back at stuff that you wrote a year ago and go, oh, I'm better now. I'm better now.
Sometimes
or stuff that you worked on.
Yeah, no, because I do write, but I feel like I don't read as much as but I do think that sometimes like the muse is louder than, I recognize when something clear is coming through, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I'm, even when I just toured with Jane Lynch, like this past Christmas, we tour every year, but like I will sometimes bring new jokes and be like, hey, how about this? How about this? And then she'll come up with something. So I tend to be the one that like brings something in, and she'll meet me, it'll be, she'll take that joke to another level.
That's cool.
So that's fun. It's fun. I definitely feel like I get, clearer and clearer. I get out of the way of my anxiety around it, or overthinking it, or
and you can trust Jane to do that.
Absolutely. And if she doesn't like it initially, then I just give her something, like I just offer something else, like, how about this? So I don't take it personally. I just keep it moving, because
That's really cool.
There's some fights that are not worth I mean, it's also like it has to speak to both of us. I'm not the boss of Jane Lynch, right?
But wouldn't that be lovely? Would it? I don't know.
The boss of the boss. The boss of Sue Sylvester. Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That would be
Hilarious.
terrifying. Yeah. You don't need that, Kate. You don't need that.
We'll get Rita
Kate,
Moreno to be that.
Oh, yes. Kate, what's your definition of making it?
I will say the last couple years, I got to spend so much time with my dad, who my dad just passed away a couple months ago. He was 100 years old, 100 in a month.
Wow.
Old, and he was still completely with it. I'm so happy we've had particularly the last 3 years. I've managed to figure out like how to be there a lot, like more than once a month. I mean, I was there a lot, and our time together was so precious. And to me, the fact that the universe conspired to let that happen and still move things forward for me, to me, like that is success.
Yeah.
The outside stuff is great, but it does not fix the inside stuff. So when you can actually feel like, some job is not going to fix the hole in your heart that you've never dealt with. And that's why I think we have some artists that are, kind of monsters. And so I'm extremely grateful. So for me, that's been my my observation of the last few years, just realizing like, wow, because not everybody gets it. They don't get that opportunity to be with people that they love when they live across country. And I got, hours, days, moments, smiles, laughs, like just so much joy and so much love. And
did you say he was
me.
with it at the end as well?
Completely. He lived at home until he was 100. And I mean, every step of the way, and luckily, I have a sister that lives with him and lived with him, and she was figuring out every stage to allow that to happen. We suddenly
amazing.
have just little things like, oh, we can't do that anymore, but we'll do this. Okay, you hold his belt, and then you go, okay, we can do this. Okay, he's still here. Okay. So, it's wild, but I do think that love is a verb, and you got to show up for people. If you really, really love them and you can do it. And, I think as we get older, we get clear about that. I wish I had that capacity younger, but I can't yell at my younger self for not knowing what I didn't know.
Yeah.
But once you know, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Love is a verb. I love that.
Yeah. But, so I'm really, really lucky. I feel super fortunate. I'm not exactly sure what's next for me, but I feel like, I know that I will be presented with something interesting and challenging, and I love that combination. And I feel really lucky to have fans that care enough to let me do that, because sometimes people try something new and fans are like, no. They are very loud about that. But I feel like I feel lucky that it all seems to be somehow within my makeup and my just as an art, just my ability, and even being pushed beyond what I think are my abilities. Because I always felt like Jane Lynch had more confidence in me as a singer than I had in myself. She always believed in me a little bit more than I believed in myself. So it was like a fun, interesting challenge, but a real challenge sometimes to just like sing as myself, not as a character. And to not just be funny and just to do a song that was just pretty and not a hostage situation. Because I do feel like somebody was like, I sing. And you're like, okay, you sing, but I don't care. I mean, who was happening? Who is this? You're like a different person. No thanks.
Yeah. I feel like it's tough to, well, first you got great feedback on the album because it charted, but also I think when you're a part of something as huge as The Office, it's like, I listen a lot to the Office Ladies podcast, and there are several times where they're like having to explain that they're not their characters. Like people will send in questions and they're like, we're not. And I think Rainn Wilson recently was saying how annoyed he is. He was on some talk show and he was like,
yes,
everyone stop yelling, where's Angela when I'm at, like, I get it. It's funny, but like, please. Like I'm married, I have kids. Like, it's just, so I imagine that would be, I mean, it's like a blessing to have been a part of it. And then you're like, please come with me as I am this other person as well.
Right. But I also feel like it's the biggest champagne problem in the world. Rainn Wilson, just calm down.
For sure.
Take a chill pill, dude.
Forward that message to Rainn Wilson.
But it's true though. You know, I mean, I if people want to buy me drinks, who am I to stop them? Who am I?
I mean, you'd be a terrible person if you did stop them.
I'll take that challenge.
And you have amazing fans. We've heard from a lot of them.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
They're all very excited for this podcast to come out.
Yeah.
Very good. Oh,
yeah.
No, I feel like I do have the best fans ever, you know. And I feel like I'm a late bloomer, and I want to always speak to people who feel like the ship has sailed and they can't do something, or they don't deserve another chapter. You do deserve another chapter. And I feel like our hopes and dreams come from a higher place outside of ourselves. And why not you? Why not you? Why don't you just try what you always wanted to try and see what happens? Why not just give it a shot? People don't even give themselves permission to do that. And they don't even like start the process because they've, you know, either it's like their family or, you know, because I do feel like sometimes your family can unconsciously hold you back because they don't want you to go away. They don't want you to change. And sometimes when we get success, we get bigger. And sometimes people get afraid of that. So they want to keep you a little smaller. So, and my thing is like, if you can be successful, you can help so many more people in your family. So just back off, everybody, relax. And if, you know, seriously, I mean, because that to me is success, is being able to help other people.
So Kate, you can take your time with this answer. I know we always say this to people and they're like, whoa, can I have a second? If you had to give a chapter title that sums up your career journey so far, what would it be? And I can give examples from past guests if you would like, or I can shut up.
Like if this was a book.
I think I can. Okay. Well, I mean, if it's a chapter, I could say, don't underestimate this cockroach.
Ooh.
I'm
still here. Like, I feel like I know people have been trying to squash me and I'm not. I'm still here. You know, just saying.
I love that.
I thought it was going to be
like a threat. It's not a threat.
No, I thought it was going to be this really zen thing, and then you added cockroach at the end, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it.
Yeah. I've only just begun. That's another chapter, but that's
Wait, we'll put that in. We'll put that in parentheses after we've gotten pretty creative with formatting. Some of these titles have been a little bit outrageous. So yeah, no, I love that one, and I won't put it in all caps so it won't be threatening.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't know. I think there's something to be said for giving yourself permission to keep at it. And I think with life experience, sometimes there's more joy with what you get. There's more groundedness. Mm-hmm. I think people tend to crash and burn when they get stuff when they're younger. They blow it.
Yeah.
They think that like they've suddenly they're right all the time.
Yeah. I worked on a show with I keep going to say kids. I'm in my 30s now. All of a sudden, I'm calling everyone younger than 30. I'm like, these kids in this show that I was working on. But one of them was not a regular. like, and this was his first job, and he like went out and
Oh
bought
boy.
Mercedes.
Oh no.
And I was like,
Oh no.
I've seen
Oh
what we're
no.
paying, like, but it was
Oh
it was
no.
like trying to check a box that was 10 feet higher than the person was. It was like, now I get to roll up to
Dude.
set in my
That
Mercedes.
is so not good. Oh my god, so not good.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
he was an interesting character. He as one of the producers put it, he would have flirted with a tree. Like, he was just like trying so hard, and we were all going around.
It's an age-old tale. It is an age-old tale. Yeah,
Tale as old as
what you're
time.
describing. Yeah, it really is. It is a tale as old as time. I mean, this is like, I mean, oof, yeah. I mean, I know people that have bought houses that are like way too big. It's like, okay, good luck. God bless.
Yeah.
and it's just like
the
there's nothing
pressure
worse
to
than
sustain that.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
sustain it.
yeah.
That's
and then the shame that's like associated with like when you downsize. It's like, which is the way you should have started. Like, just get, yeah.
It's thank you so much. This has been, I'm like screaming on the inside. I'm keeping it together very well. But thank you so much.
Oh my god, you guys.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. You've been amazing.
Thank you so much. Oh my god, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. And good luck with everything. Don't give up. 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 I should have reported that. I'm sorry. But I mean it. Do not give up.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.